Today we'll see what we can do to improve the handling and sway on this 2001 GMC. Plus, we'll set up our very cool Ram Runner project. You won't want to miss it. Hey, welcome to TruckU. It's a nice day out for a little test drive. We got our buddy's 2001 GMC 1500 truck, and this is a truck he uses to pull a lot of heavy loads, and quite honestly, he's having a bit of an issue with it. Not only is it want to do a little sag on it when he loads this thing down, but also the steering's a little rough, man. You can almost hear it clunk. Yeah, the steering's a little bit loose. Still fun to drive. Good to get out of the shop. Definitely good to get out of the shop, man. We'll find out how good it is to drive when we hit these railroad tracks. So,
how do you think this load's going to do it?
I don't know, man. I hope my back survives.
You know how it goes when you're hauling a load and you hit a good bump, a railroad track, or if you're flying over the speed bumps or something like that. You can feel it, especially if you're on a long drive, a couple hours. Here we go.
Yeah, when you're pulling out in front of traffic, you get that body lean and that body roll.
Nice.
Yeah, that's going to get old quick.
Yeah. I think we got a fix for that, though.
I say we take it back to the shop, man. Let's get to work on this thing.
One of the things that our buddy was complaining about with this truck, and certainly one of the things we noticed when we had it out on the road, was the fact that the steering was a little bit loose. We knew there were some issues in there, so we brought it back here and we traced it down to the pitman arm and the idler arm. And now in the stock configuration, those things are a little bit worn out. So we're going to go ahead and swap those out with these upgraded components that we got from FST Motorsports. What happens when you lift up the truck is you're changing the geometry, and you got a lot of these little ball and socket joints going all over. Now when you put an increased angle to that, it's going to wear them out a little bit prematurely or a little bit earlier. So you want to beef it up and get it stronger. And that's what this is all about with this roller bearing style right here. So
yeah, they changed to a roller bearing from that orbital style. Now the orbital style, you got the motion both front and back, and it gives you a lot of wasted motion. With the bearing style, it's only left to right, so you're gonna get better response and better feel for the driver, which is definitely an upgrade.
Yeah, that's gonna be tight, and that's gonna give you better communication with the road, right? Yes. Is that what they call it for the driver? I don't know, it's real technical, but you know how it is. So FST Motorsports has got our kit for that. This is for the 1500 that we're gonna use. If you wanna go the route of the 2500, you can get this, and that's a nice looking piece right there. They always do good work. Now another thing that we're going to do in the rear, he was hearing some noises, right? So we're going to plop in this Ected Max locker from Auburn Gear.
Yeah, you never want to hear noise coming from your differential because it's something you want to address right away because it's not going to end well. So what we're going to do is upgrade it to this. This gives us two different options. It can give you a full locker or it can be an open differential. And the great thing about it is it's something you can change by simply pushing a button. It'll be open or closed whenever you want it to be.
You know what's nice about that is you obviously leave it open when you're driving around. And, you know, you're driving down the road and you don't pulling any loads or anything. But you get on a wet boat ramp or out into some mud when you're going to the landfill and dropping off a bunch of bushes in the dump trailer, you're going to want to lock that baby in so that you can get out and get home. That's the name of the game. All right, let's get to work, dude.
A tonneau cover is a great way to protect your cargo, but it also makes it tough to see inside the truck bed. Put some light on the subject with LED cargo lights from LMC Truck. The kit includes 8 LED modules, 4 for each side, and because they're just under 70 inches long, they will fit any size truck bed. The LED lights mount easily under the bed rail with pre-applied 3M tape. You have a couple of wiring options. You can attach it to the existing cargo light, which will turn on every time your cargo light does, or you can use the included optional on-off switch if you want to control the cargo lights manually. This tip is brought to you by LMC Truck. Restore, maintain, and customize your truck with parts and accessories from LMC Truck.
Hey, welcome back. We're working on the suspension on this GMC truck. We've done the idler arms and the pitman arms up front. Now we work our way to the back. We've got a quick, easy fix for when you're doing heavy towing. We're going to install the stable load from Torque Lift International. It's something that's going to go in really easy and make your whole life a whole lot easier when you load down your truck.
Now, we've all driven an overloaded truck before, and there's a couple things going on. One, your suspension's bottomed out. So when you hit a bump, you know, you feel everything. If you're on a long drive, it's going to wear you out. And it's all going from side to side. It's not the most most comfortable thing going on in the world. This is a quick, inexpensive, easy fix to that problem. It's so easy. On the scale of 1 to 10 as far as installation goes, I think it's like a 1. In fact, you guys should have your wives install this, you know? Let me know how that goes.
Yeah, you send a hate mail to Matt Steele for that one.
I'm used to it.
You know, the install goes in pretty quick, and if there's a situation where you have to do drilling, they give you the drill you need to do it. Most of them will bolt right into place for most applications, and it's something that engages and disengages in a matter of seconds. The idea here is when you've got no load in the truck, you disengage a stable load and you've got your factory suspension settings. Well, before you load it down, what you do is you engage the stable load, and it's going to engage the overload spring to allow you to have a nice stiff suspension in the back. It's not going to sag, it's not going to get that body roll, and it's going to make your ride a whole lot better.
Now we can come out here and put that stable load from Torque Lift International to the test. The thing is, it was so easy to put in, so let's see what it does over these tracks.
All right, you know, the bar is pretty low right now because it was pretty rough the first time we went over. Nice,
Look at
that was like butter.
That's a big difference, man.
Big difference.
For something that took a couple minutes to do,
a couple minutes to install and takes seconds to engage, man. That's really cool.
Now let's test the roll going around this corner.
All right.
Let's keep it tight.
Wow, that's much better.
Dude, it allows the suspension to do what it's supposed to do.
Now, you saw this thing before we put the stable load in, you loaded it down, and man, it was almost doing a wheelie. Now this thing has got a nice, even level stance, and it's great too, is because when you're driving and you've got it loaded down, your headlights aren't shining up into the night sky.
Right.
You're not blinding somebody behind you.
Nice. I'm a fan.
We've been doing a lot of work on this 2001 GMC 1500 truck, and with this truck and a lot of light duty ones, you'll notice that they have a lot of problems in terms of gaskets, and specifically the intake manifold gaskets. These trucks are used a lot. They're put under a lot of stress, a lot of heat, a lot of thermal expansion and contraction and vibration, which causes not only to have vacuum leaks, but coolant as well as oil leaks. Well, thankfully, Felpro's got a fix for this common problem.
Yeah, these are the Felpro Perma-Dry intake manifold gaskets, and it's kind of nice because it's like the company said, look, there's a lot of problems with the stock gaskets, right? And we need to build something to fix this so these guys don't have the problems. And this is what they come up with. It's nice because they've got the in-house proprietary rubberized compound on the seal, and you got 3 different layers on the seating. So when you put that in there, that rubber seal is going to get in there nice and tight. That's going to be really good. Now also, you got the aluminized edge on the torque limiters, so you can't over-torque this when you put it down there. Like I said, basically, they've just taken the problems that they had with the stock one in the OEs and said, look, we're going to jack it up and make it better. That way, when you put this replacement in, it's going to last.
Yeah, it's going to take you a long time to go ahead and get to these intake manifold gaskets. It's not an easy job, but it's one you only want to do one time. So Felpro's made sure that when you put their gaskets in, it's going to be a perfect fit, it's going to be a perfect seal, and you only have to do it one time. Because let's face it, man, when your truck is down, you're not making money, so you want to make sure you do it and do it right.
No, I mean, work trucks are put through a lot of rough conditions. You know, all the idling and driving around, pulling trailers, this, that, the other. The internal components are put through a lot of stress, so you want the stuff that's going to hold up. Now, you mentioned it's a big job and getting in there. You might have to spend some money to do a job like this, but so what? In the long run, it's a lot cheaper than buying a new truck, right?
Yeah,
I know that's what you do. You're like, I'll just go out and get a new truck. Give me 2 or 3 of them.
Well, these things will keep you sealed up. You won't have to worry about it.
All right, good. Let's get this out of here so we can move on. Job well done.
This segment of Truck U is brought to you by Schumacher Electric Corporation. Experience, ingenuity, and excellence in battery maintenance.
Earlier today, we mentioned the fact that we were going to get started with our Ram Runner project, and for that, I'm going to turn it over to Bruno, because I understand that when we say Ram Runner, there might be a few of you out there who don't know what we're talking about.
Now, what the project starts with, this is a 2009 Dodge 1500 truck, a stock truck that we are turning into, well, basically a vehicle that's able to go out and be a pre-runner for desert races. And what we mean by that is, you know, before you put on the Baja 1000 or you're a team, you put out a vehicle that's capable of going over the trails and marking it for you. So let's say you've got big holes here, or you've got to slow down and make this bank turn. You need to have something that's capable of going over the course, and that's what we're doing with this truck. So it's capable of doing that. But to make it to that level, it's a rather ambitious project. This one here takes a lot of time, there's a lot of effort, a lot of man hours to make this thing fully capable.
We always joke around that if you're one of the individuals that sits back and goes, man, I'm not sure if I want to change my own oil or not, listen, this is a project that you would want to avoid. Now, you can put this kit on yourself like we're doing, or you can order it from Mopar and get it done at the dealership. So either way you want to go is fine. We thought it would be cool to do the project ourselves and get in here and do some of the work. Now, like you said, there's been a lot of work done. So it all started right up here underneath this wheel well with a little bit of cutting.
Yep, what all started here with this is our stock shock tower. We had to cut it out of the way because we need to get a lot of travel out of this new suspension part of this whole kit. Now this will have a capability of 14 inches of travel up front, which is going to make this thing more than capable. But to do so, there's a lot of fabricating that has to go into all this. You give us a little template here, we'll set it into place, and this is where everything's going to be based off of this template.
You know what's nice about that? We can lay the template in there, we make all the circles right there so we know where to make the plug welds, and everything is good. It almost looks like the little dude's happy. Look at him, he's so excited about what's going on with this truck.
Now before you break out the plasma cutter and start cutting out that old shock tower, you want to go ahead and shield behind with these steel plates. The whole idea is the plasma cutter works fast and can remove just about anything in its path, so with the steel plates behind it shielding, we won't cut brake lines or melt wiring and destroy things we don't want destroyed. The shield's there with the steel plates will make sure that we just cut out the areas we intend to.
This new front suspension is very strong, and it's built specifically to take a lot of punishment on the front. So think about it, if you've got two shock towers like this and you come crashing down on the ground and you don't have enough support, those things can buckle in. Well, you've got this shock tower brace that goes right across from the top here. It's bolted in, it goes up through the engine compartment and over to the other side, and it hooks into the top of the other tower. So it's all tied together. You want to tie that all together, get it all in place before you weld it all in, make sure everything is aligned. Now you're ready to take a lot of punishment up there in the front.
Now before you weld in the shock tower, you want to go ahead and use this alignment hole right here to set everything in place. It's got the hole cut out in the new piece as well as the factory one, so this way you can use it as an alignment point, tack weld everything in place. Once you get it all tack welded, then you go ahead and do your final welds. One of the components to this Dodge Ram Runner kit is the ability to widen the front stance of the truck, and the way we're going to do that is by using the sleeve that came with the kit. So what you do is you'll actually go ahead and cut the axles in half on both sides. Now this sleeve is going to give you an extension of 2 inches on either side, which is 4 inches overall. So once you butt the shafts back into the sleeve, you weld it all into place, and this way you've got that 2-inch extension on either side.
All right, you lift that arm up for me, dude?
Yeah.
All right, we'll slide this on, and then we can start kind of putting this together a little bit and kind of seeing where we're going to end up, right? So next up, let's go ahead and get that lower arm. Yep. All right.
Now this is what I call a shock, man. This is a serious piece right here.
Yeah. It's nice looking too. All right, let's go.
A little heavy, I ain't gonna kid you.
I'll take your word for it. All right, so what we're gonna do now is just basically let all this hang out for a little while. That way when we drop the truck down, we can compress the spring on the jack. That's gonna make life a lot easier. We're not gonna try to fight that with ourselves,
Yeah,
right?
we're not gonna be able to fight that spring, that's for sure.
No, so in the meantime, we can roll up to the front and take a look at that big new bumper we've got. Look at that. This is a little foreshadowing of how the front end of this truck is going to look. That's going to be nice.
That's really cool.
Now, up to this point on this Mopar Ram Runner kit, we've been working on the front suspension primarily. So we're taking a little break from that and coming up here and taking a look at this bumper. That thing is big, man. It's ornamental and useful. So, but it did take some doing to get to this point to get it ready for installation.
Well, one of the things we had to do was go ahead and remove these front mounting brackets right here for this bumper. Now, this was a little bit more cumbersome than normal installation would be because the backstory in this truck was the guy actually did an endo in the sand and bent up the front bumper and bent up these mounts. They were so bent up that you couldn't cut them clean off and get a nice square end. So what we did is we took the plasma and cut out that front flange like this, and then went with the Sawzall and straightened everything out behind it and cleaned it all up. This way we're gonna have a nice, flat, level, straight surface to work with the new bumper.
But you know what? That's the story a lot of times around here. I mean, things are often more difficult than they should be, but that's fine. You know, so these brackets came in for the bumper, and those will mount right over there. There's a little bump right there on the frame rail. So we kind of center the hole in the bracket over that, and we can clamp these down and see where we got to drill our holes. What we'll do is we'll take a measurement from the back side of the bracket to the corner here and make sure that's the same on each side. That way we know it's nice and level.
Got one side about ready and the other side is just about there as well. Now what we had to do was drill out a couple of holes. This side of the frame here we drilled out to the size of the bolt. Now on the other side though, we opened up the hole a little bit bigger. So you can see right here this bushing will slide in from that side. The reason why is you want this bushing in place so when you tighten down this bumper, you don't collapse the frame itself. By opening up the hole to this size, you can actually slide it through, tack weld it in place, and that bushing will be fixed. It won't move around on you. It'll make life a lot easier because you're not juggling the the bushing with the bolt and the nut and the bumper and the mounting bracket. The one less thing you got to juggle when you're holding this big bumper makes life a lot easier.
Yeah, because that could be a lot going on. Now, another thing the kit comes with is a couple of these shims, and these are nice too because they'll actually mount right here if you need them. You got a handful of them in the kit, so if we have a little excess room, that will fill that space. So we don't know if we'll need to use any of these or a couple of them until we put that bumper into place. So time will tell, my friend. Welcome back to TruckU. Now, we know a lot of you guys are working on classic Chevy trucks, and every now and then there's a piece or a part that's a little bit hard to find, and that's where these come in. It's the catalogs for Chevy trucks from Classic Parts of America.
Now, they've got you covered from your classic trucks from 1947 up to 1998. What you do is you call in, you get one of these 6 free catalogs, open it up, and you can see you've got everything you need. You've got your gauges, your hubcaps, your gauge clusters, all that stuff, and it's great because you can find them, you can find the parts because they got great pictures and diagrams, and you're going to get them quick. They're located in the Midwest, so you can get your parts usually in 1 to 3 days in ground shipping. And these guys have been around a long time, 29 years, going on 30, so not some fly-by-night company.
It's the Classic Parts Chevrolet catalogs from the guys at Classic Parts of America. This is Startron enzyme fuel treatment, and it is designed specifically to deal with all the issues with today's ethanol in the fuel.
Yeah, if you've got an engine where the fuel's been sitting in for longer than 30 days, you have a problem with the ethanol. You see, over 30 days, that ethanol starts to break down, puts gum and varnish inside that fuel system. As you can imagine, that's pretty problematic. So what happens, you pour a little Startron in, it breaks down that ethanol, lets your engine run a lot smoother.
Yeah, it starts quicker, runs smoother, you get your power back. I've got this little Sea-Doo boat that's about 15 years old that I use, you know, about once a year. And it used to smoke a lot and start real slow, but now you put a little bit of this in, it stabilizes the fuel for up to 2 years. I put a little bit in before I start it. It all starts nice and easy, and that thing runs like a dream. Bruno, I have a little gift for you, man. It's the Matt Steele Signature Edition Vampires. All new, hot off the presses.
Why would I want the Matt Steele version when I got the Bruno Massel Signature Series right here, man? They hooked me up as well.
Good question. Now, these are the Vampires, and these are awesome because anytime you've tried to get a stripped out screw out of anything with a typical pair of pliers, well, you know how that goes, right?
Not well. And the reason why Vampires are so effective is the patented technology you see at the end right here. And it all comes down to the serrations. Now, a typical set of pliers has a horizontal serration going across, so when you grab onto a screw, it just spins. Now with the Vampires, they've got a vertical serration which is patented. It allows you to grasp on like a vampire onto the end of that screw, and you can see there's a little contour here that follows the round head. So you'll grab on and you can remove any kind of stuck screw, nut, or bolt, and really makes your life a whole lot easier.
Yeah, and another nice thing is too, they've got the non-slip comfortable grip on there, so that's going to come in handy. So whether you're working on an automobile or a boat or a project around the house, anywhere you've got a stripped out screw, the Vampires are going to help you get that thing out of there. Now this right here is the Lanier MX200 waste oil heater. And what's cool about this is you're using your old recycled motor oil and producing potentially free heat in your shop. That's nice.
Yeah, that's a really nice thing. Now, the other nice thing about a Lanier system is the fact that they've got a factory direct business model, which means you buy directly from them, so you're going to save money there. Also, it's going to give you the opportunity to talk to the people who build this thing. They're going to get their knowledge, their free customer support for a lifetime, so when you get a system like this, you'll be up and running, and it'll be running efficiently.
Now, this was built specifically for the do-it-yourself guy, so you don't have to worry about any service contracts or anything like that. It's built to be easily maintained, and that's another advantage to it. It's the Lanier MX200 waste oil heater.
For more information about anything you've seen on today's show, check out speed.com or visit our website at truckutv.com.
All right, let's get this thing up in place. Side.
Looking good. Just about right. Okay, well that gets it into place.
So the bumper's set in place. What we can do is the last piece of our puzzle is that shift it off to one side to figure out how much gap we've got between our frame rails here and the mounting points of this bumper. And that will fill in on either side. We'll split the difference with these shims. Once the shims are in place, man, we are done. We can tighten down this front bumper assembly.
That does look a lot more aggressive in the front.
Yeah, I like it, man. It's a good look.
Now, another thing we talked about changing the look-wise of this particular application was these new fenders that are going on in the front right here. And it all started with this, and we did this a little bit earlier. Those of you that have worked with fiberglass bodies or fiberglass body parts before, you know how easy it is, and you know how they always go on perfectly the first time, right? Well, that might be a bit of a stretch. I think we were up to 8 or 9 times putting it on and taking it off, putting it on and taking it off. Now, you kind of hang it into place first and see how everything's looking, right? Now, you're going to have a little piece here or there that's a little bit extra. So what you do is you go ahead and mark that, and you take it in, you pull this off, and you grind that part off with the grinder. No problem. Once you get it to the point where it fits good, now you've got to put the holes in it so you can mount it into place. Well, the holes up on the bottom side, right around here, they're pretty easy because you can get behind here and see right where the holes need to be. So you got a couple of them up here in the front and a couple of them down there in the bottom. Those are the easy ones. Where it gets a little bit tricky are the holes right up here underneath the hood, because the holes are underneath where the fiberglass is and you can't see through it. So how do you know where to put the holes? Well, here's a good little trick. So you take a piece of tape and you run it right down the side of this like we did. Pull the fiberglass piece off again. Now you know where your holes are at, and you can mark that right on your tape. Simply put this back up, make your line, make a little X, you know right where the holes are at, and you can button them in there, and it's nice and easy. It's a little bit tedious, but if you take your time and make your measurements and do it right, this baby, just like this one, is gonna fit like a glove.
So here's the deal. Our upgrade to our Mopar Ram Runner suspension kit in the back, a whole lot easier than the stuff we had to do up front. What it comes down to is basically upgrading the spring and shock to a brand new set we've got right here. And Matt calls these as rated as awesome. It's the Fox Racing Bypass 3-inch shock, and this thing is going to allow us to do a whole lot more than the stock settings ever would. What happens though is when you come to doing upgrades, whether it's a race vehicle or an off-road vehicle, you find fusible or weak links. Well, one of the weak links when you're talking about utilizing a spring and shock combo like this is the mounting bracket. It's great for factory settings, but when you're going off-road, you need something a lot better, a lot beefier. And that's where this comes into play. Now, this is all part of the kit as well. So we cut the old one out of the way, put the new one in place, and if you look at it, quite simply, it's bigger, badder, better. It's going to allow us to keep the shock and spring in place and allow us to go down the road and have a lot of fun. You like this bad boy?
I do like that a lot. Actually, it looks great. It's going to be another nice addition to this Ram Runner project, there's no doubt. But you know what? I'm looking around. The fact that I can see you tells me something is missing back here.
You know, I hadn't noticed anything.
That would be the bed. You know, here's the cool thing about this Ram Runner thing. We got the bed sides that are going on as well. And again, that was something else that was a lot easier back here than it was up front. So that's pretty cool. Hey, you know when we're going to check that out, dude? Next week.
Definitely
right here on TruckU.
man.
We'll see you guys then. All right. What do you need me to do? Nothing?
Just stand there and look pretty.
Excellent.
You're good at that.
I am.